Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Anushka, and with me I have Madhvi Ghosh. A warm welcome to the International Toy Innovation e-symposium 2021. The e-symposium at NID is being organized in conjunction with a virtual toy exhibition on play, learn, and design, celebrating the spirit of mapping innovation approaches in the areas of toys and games for creating joyful childhood experiences. Today, as we start our symposium, we have the following lines of inquiry. How do we explore design, play, and learning through our institutional pedagogy? How the institutions will collaborate with each other in order to exchange pedagogical and cultural knowledge of design, play, and learning. Today on panel we have eminent speakers who will be talking about toy design pedagogy. We have our first speaker for the day, Eva Brooks. Eva is a professor in IT-based design, learning and innovation at the Department of Culture and Learning at Aalborg University, Denmark. Her research has socio-cultural focus on participation, social interaction, and the use of development of digital technology and its implication for play and learning. Her research also includes an innovation dimension where she applies a design-oriented approach to co-creative process with children. She is involved in several research projects concerning children's participation, play, and learning in the state-of-art technology settings. Her research focuses on teachers' professional digital competitions grounded in the creative workshop, where the learning is participative, collaborative, and peer-oriented. We welcome Eva Brooks.
Thank you very much for the introduction, and thank you very much for letting me be part of this important event and important topic. So I would like to add also that I, for several years, have had the I'm honorable to have collaborated a lot with Professor Sudarshan Khanna and have learned a lot from him. And through this collaboration, I also have got in contact with Gayatri, and over the last few years, I also have a very fruitful and interesting collaboration with Surabhi Khanna. So I have visited NID a couple of times as well, which I am very grateful to. So that was a parenthesis or addition to your introduction. So thank you very much. So I will share my slides with you. Here we are. And I will talk about something that I'm occupied with right now. And it is about looking at play as design. And from a play which has led to a perspective on pedagogical perspective, what we have called play responsive pedagogy. So this is, I will talk about how we came to that and give some empirical examples as well. So on the one hand, it's not unproblematic to relate design and play, because on the one hand, both promote curiosity and exploration, which supports motivation and the acquisition of knowledge. But on the other hand, design typically leads to concrete solutions for specific situations, whereas play is seen as more open-ended, where people imaginatively interact with the world. But similarly, their designers are curious and ask the question how in order to get to the intended solution, whereas playing humans imaginarily ask the questions, what if? Yet, both questions reflect a wonder about the creation of a possible future. So regarding design then, so Stappers, he referred to the act of designing as the locus where new ideas get created by confronting them with the world. And these confrontations lead then to the instantiation of a designed idea in the form of a prototype. Zimmerman et al., he states that designers in this way have skills to create a product that transform the world from its current state to a preferred state. So while the term design has built-in ambiguous character and often treated as either noun or as a verb, it is the same with play. So in this regard, in our research, we are concerned with the actions of design and the actions of play rather than the outcome of these actings. Or play, then, I refer to Brian Sutton-Smith, who is in his groundbreaking book, The Ambiguity of Play. He states that the play has a variation of expressions, and he stated that it is characterized by its quirkiness, redundancy, and flexibility. And he continues by stating that the play is not a frivolous act, but rather a powerful human asset for explorative and creative interaction between people and the surrounding environment. And based on this, we can say that the concept of play can be considered as somewhat disruptive, fostering novel ideas by making and breaking down traditional ways of approaching the world. And this concept, making and breaking, I refer to Sudarshan Khanna in his writings. And our research then is very inspired by this kind of making and breaking processes, as we think they are crucial to play and design processes, by reinforcing that they enable us to ask questions of what is and what if, to support connecting and reconnecting ideas and hypotheses. So in play, then, people can explore and sustain creative actions of making and breaking, and stimulate opportunities of self-expression, problem solving, building social relationships. And this also offers meaningful ways of using ideas and other resources in new ways. So the opposites, if we can say so, between design and play, we have treated as productive constraints, and say that constraints in learning and play can be seen as constructive and deconstructive processes, which I relate then to making and breaking processes, in which people build bridges and act as driver of something new. So it's by connecting these two concepts creates a dynamic movement, both historically and interactionally, we believe. And in such processes, we think it's crucial to establish a joint framework where it is possible to alter between as if, the imaginary situations, and as is, the reality. Because this supports participants in learning about real problems, as is, through engaging in imaginary scenarios, as if, and to learn to play in new ways. So becoming familiar with cultural tools, as is, can enrich imaginary skills, as if. So this is the background to where we consider then a play responsive pedagogy as crucial to encourage play as design. And a play responsive pedagogy that also brings in the facilitators. It could be an educator or a designer. I mean, it can be either or. So we say facilitators to keep it broad. It brings in the facilitator and the participants to create a joint activity where the educators and then the participant are mutually engaged in this content. And where the educators then are responsive to to the students' perspectives, if we say that the facilitator and the participants are educators and students. So having an openness towards what can be accountable as a play activity and a continuous shift between play and non-play is also crucial to a play responsive pedagogy. And related to conceptualizing play responsive pedagogy, we make use of the concepts of intersubjectivity, alteration, and meta-communication. So intersubjectivity, that concerns how the participants coordinate their actions to create a joint activity rather than being engaged in separate ones. And alteration is the emergence of new directions of an activity, which, for example, prototyping could cause. And then meta-communication, that is conversations about what has been said and done in an activity and what the participants think and meant by that. So it's about communicating about the communication, so to speak. And as you can see, then we are inspired by a socio-cultural perspective here, pointing back to Vygotsky and Wirch and so on. So we have worked with this. How am I time-wise? Am I?
Eva, you just have 2 minutes left.
2 minutes left. Okay.
Yeah.
So we have anyway practiced this in different projects, and especially in one project that is called Doing Architecture is as Playing, which is in collaboration with Utzon Center in Aalborg, with Jörn Utzon, who also it's inspired by Jörn Utzon, who also designed the opera house in Sydney, for instance. So we are working in different workshops with children where they have been modeling and learning mathematics and through the lens of architecture, and they have been playing and making in different ways. So I just skip this. But what we have found is that children's exploring in play situation are highly motivated by acts of making and breaking, and also the material interaction in terms of prototyping. So my concluding remarks then is, by putting forward designing as play as a making and breaking process acknowledges a play responsive pedagogy. And we suggest that the play responsive pedagogy can encourage what is and what if explorations, where intersubjectivity, alteration, and meta-communication come together in material and immaterial making and breaking endeavors. So what we have termed as meta-communication comes into play in reflective and recursive discussions and actions. So it is not only the setting that offers such experiences, but also the way in which facilitators stand back and enable sufficient space for students to explore and to break boundaries. And here it is very important to emphasize the ethos of participants' voices to be heard and considered through these material manifestations and making and breaking interactions. Thank you. 10 minutes is hard.
Thank you.
So I stop sharing now.
Yes.
I mute myself.
Thank you, Eva, for the insightful journey with design and play on the same boat. And next, we have Ali Shirkrami. Ali Shirkrami has studied Master of Educational Technology at Alme Tabatabai University in Iran. All of his projects in university involved children's need for education and play. His interest has always been to blend play and learning. So the process of learning becomes more appealing. Ali has designed several concept games and toys all with an educational sense. Since 2015, he has been working with Idea Azad Toy Event, a platform for accelerating toy and game ideas as event coordinator. He has also been on a scientific and educational committee at Iran National Toy Festival since 2018 and became the international events coordinator in the 6th Iran National Toy Festival, which was held in Jan to February 2021. Over to you, Ali.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Madhavi, for your introduction. Hi, everyone. My name is Ali Shirkami, and I'm from Iran. It's a huge honor to be of NID Toy Design and Innovation e-symposium.
Ali, you are.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, now we can.
Okay. So, without further ado, I will start my presentation. Okay, so today I would like to talk about pedagogy or education on a matter of toy design. It's actually my own question that I always look for an answer to it, that in toy design, we should have a pedagogical approach or educational approach that I will share some of my thoughts with you all. So first of all, I would like to share some of the very old toys that has been discovered in Iran from 3 to 4,000 years ago. They are all objects, pedagogical and educational objects and toys, more than just a simple hobby. They were used in ancient classrooms, and they were part of people's life and people's community. For example, on these pictures, you see mobile toys that were made out of clay or metal, and they were common in northern region of Iran 3,000 years ago. Animal figures that were not only for entertaining children, but also to teach them about the natural environment and about the places that children are growing up. Also in this picture, you will see, I think, the very first educational tablets and boards from 4,000 years ago, that today some educational and cultural centers of the world use this method to teach ancient calligraphy to beginners as well. And also some objects that are toys for baby and toddlers, for example, a rattle that were used to entertain a very young baby and toddler. But why am I starting with these ancient toys? Is that because we do believe that toy design pedagogy comes from a society and a community. So it's important to know what was before us and what people used to appreciate and value thousands of years ago. Now I would love to emphasize on the four main players in toy design pedagogy in Iran. One of them is Kanun, or so-called Institute for the Intellectual Development of Children and Young Adults. Kanun used to first focus on educating children by establishing different libraries. And today Kanun has more than 1,000 cultural artistic centers all over the Iran, out of which more than 800 are immobile or fixed libraries. Kanun also promotes play and is a toy producer as well. Since 2010, it has more focus on toy production and promoting standard toys and games among producers and in societies and among designers as well. In addition, more than 170 urban and rural mobile centers have been set up and put into operation to provide services to children in rural and deprived areas as well. Yeah, and you can also see some pictures of big trucks and different vehicles that are traveling all around the country, and they promote play and teach children different games, and they give them books and educating them in different areas like cultural and literature and all those areas that children need to be educated. The other main player in toy design pedagogy is Iran Toy Supervision Council. Its main purpose is to support the industry and designers by helping them to value original designs and value the copyright laws, and also helping producers to be more independent and produce national toys and games, and also help them to sell them in regional or global market as well. The other main player would be Iran National Toy Festival, that this January we had the 6th Iran National Toy Festival. In this festival, we have different parts. For example, we have educational sessions that we had Austin Davis and Shekhar Bhattacharya this year representing India. And also we have exhibitions, and also we award the best production of the year as well. And all of those productions are national and have original designs. Another main player in toy design pedagogy is an event called Eid al-Azha Toy Design Bootcamp. This year we have the 4th Eid al-Azha Toy Design Bootcamp, and actually next week, Wednesday, we have the final presentation day. It's a presentation of the final top best 12 ideas and designs. It's something like a TED Talk, but we call it a Toy Talk, in which people will present their ideas and concepts. I invite you all to come and watch those ideas and concepts. They are really entertaining, and I'm really excited for it. I will share the links with Austin or Shekhar, and you can also join. And we also have one presenter from India. We have a group called Luma Board. They will also present one of their ideas at our event next week. So you might wonder, why am I addressing these 4 main players in toy design pedagogy? Because we do believe that moving toy design into a pedagogical atmosphere will lead to actual good results in toy design and have good products as well. With the help of these 4 different organizations and events, we promote the value of design and the importance of toys and play, not among the designers or academics or professors, but among the people who actually buy and use toys and games, and among families and children as well. So we try to create an ecosystem in the field of toy design with the help of these 4 organizations and events. Right now we don't have a toy design degree in Iran, but we are looking forward to launch it in a master level degree in a couple of years. But it's not our priority, because we do believe that pedagogical and toy design pedagogy universities or colleges. You guys can hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. So one important thing is that in toy design education, we will ultimately have professionals in toy design rather than experts. But experts have real life experience that cannot be necessarily achieved via toy design education. Because in toy design pedagogy, we have a mixture of teaching, coaching, and mentoring. People get to interact with manufacturers, producers, and with their users, and designing becomes their concern. So we have 4 main pedagogical features. One of them is that pedagogy is comprehensive. So it covers all the areas. It covers design, production, and ideation, or all those phases. And also pedagogy is discourse driven. It gives people a chance to talk about toys and children's life and those values. Also, pedagogy is community based, and by pedagogy I mean toy design pedagogy. So in pedagogy, when we say it's community based, it's really dependent on the culture of that community. For example, toy design pedagogy is definitely a bit different from toy design pedagogy in India or in Denmark or in other countries. And the fourth one is pedagogy is interactive, so that learners and instructor both gain in the process as well.
Ali, you have 2 minutes left.
Okay, perfect. So about the toy design course that we are developing, we have this system of a triangle that we came up with, and core knowledge based on creativity, culture, and moral values in art, economics management, and entrepreneurship in arts. We do believe that a mixture of these values and forces will lead to a experience that is interactive, community-based, and will help the society and also the industry as well. And with all of that, we do believe that mutual collaboration exists in these four main areas. For example, like the e-symposium that you guys are holding right now are bridges to connect people all around the world to work with each other and share their experience in toy design, and also share their cultural backgrounds and what they have experienced throughout the process. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Ali. That was really informative. Next we welcome Shekhar Bhattacharya ji. Shekhar Bhattacharya ji, who is a faculty at NID in the field of toys and games design. He has a master's degree in painting from Indrakala Sangeet Vishwavidyalaya in Chhattisgarh, and was actively engaged with traditional craft communities in Bistar, Chhattisgarh, India. He had conducted creativity workshops with children before he joined NID's faculty development program. He has been contributing in design drawing, representation techniques, nature drawing, character design, model making, toy design projects, etc. Over to you, Shekharda. Shekharda, you're on mute.
Thank you, Anushka. Thank you for the introduction. Let me share my screen. I have a small presentation display. So, just a minute. Okay, so it's visible? Yeah, Anushka?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm now leading the toy and game design department at NID. So, sorry, am I audible?
Yes, Shekharda.
Okay, thank you. So, in our discipline, toy and game design, the central concept of our discipline is play. The behavior play is consisting with activities like analysis and synthesis without any definite goal. So that we believe in. So, so to explore play as behavior and activity through material and media, we work in this discipline, and to understand and experience play as behavior and activity through material media, what the main activity we do as a core. And also third actually objective we have is to reach out to the larger audience to address their play behavior through our material and media. So this is actually the core activities we do. And so I'm not describing all the courses or all the pedagogy. I would like to share one course, and then how I would say that how the play as a core concept is working in the courses inherent, which is actually we carries throughout the courses in our discipline. So I would take one course called Nature and Design, which is form course basically. So this course basically actually taken from industrial course, form course, here actually we follow a design process to generate form from things. For example, so what to do? We take inspiration from nature. So we then we actually analyze and get information from their inspiration. So scientific informations, formal informations, form, texture and color, and other visual design informations, and all the informations we took and put in the place, and then we analyze and try to figure out what kind of form we can generate. And then we simplify the form, we alter different kind of form expressions and all, and then we figure out a form which is basically, so this is actually the process generally we used to follow in form course in our discipline. And then the first intervention we do actually basically, as I said, that it's in complete process of synthetic and analytical approach, synthesis and analysis. So we intervene this process inherent into the data extracting from the inspiration. So we follow one process called synthetic process and for analytical process to get information. And so also we do relative study of ecology, culture, and all these things when we start do the kind of take the inspiration of a particular form. So in analytical approach, we observe it like a scientist, like for example, analyzing of every information, visual, tactile, other sensory informations here. And then we, for example, locomotion, life cycle, relationship, and all these things, we as scientists, we just try to figure out also the visual form of it, analyzing it a bit. And then we take inspiration from that, formal inspiration from that. For example, this is a crab, hermit crab, and from there somebody took inspiration. And also similar kind of other forms also explored in a way, all the other informations. And then came up with a very interesting play object, which is actually has an inspiration from the form, and also slowly one activity of the form, like the claw of the crab, and then how actually translating into a form which is playful. So from a particular form exercise of industrial design form exercise, how we are converting it into play. This central theme of the discipline is called play. So how we are converting into a play towards play. So this is one example, and this is an analytical example basically. Then another example of a playful water toy device from seahorse. So let's also follow the process, and then we got it. Now, the synthetic and holistic approach, how we take and how we get information from that, and then this is like observing like an artist, a poet, or a child. Here, instead of analyzing, feeling and experiencing the inspiration surrounding is important. So here the observer is also included in the process of observing and getting inspiration. So this exploration was based on a dewdrop like inspiration, and this is also taken poetry from Tagore, that temperament, created the temperament of the work with actually the potential way. So it's all aspects of a dewdrop, like in the poetry and in synthetic manner, taken by students, and then how this is created, the dewdrop on a grass, which is interactive and playful. So it's a very synthetic process of transferring the play from the inspiration. So it's a kind of how we get it. Then another example of inspiration, which is basically fish. So a kind of an installation where you can see a fish inside a water, and different kind of level of water, and So it's create a very synthetic experience of a face. So two best synthetic and analytical approach to come up with a form which is very much playful in a way. So this is a approach, one course actually I'm explaining. Another inspiration was like somebody has taken inspiration like fall. So the person actually kind of staying with whole day with the experience of fall, and also collecting all these similar objects and all. So gathering it and writing poetry on it, listening, and all these things. And then he actually come up with a mock-up installation. You can see the installation where actually see how metaphorize the whole essence of form. So it's a tree of knowledge where the cheats has written something into it. You just blow, and then one cheat is falling down. You're picking up and you're reading it, and you are also writing something and putting it there. So kind of this. So in our all courses, we try to inherent try to put the essence of play, and then how we can figure out play. For example, I would like to show you some other course also. For example, if it is a material course where you can see how even in material course also how material itself has the property of playfulness itself, which actually express the expression of inspiration. For example, this inspiration taken from peacock. So now instead of creating a very static form, we transfer it to a playful experiential form, which actually can give you indirectly the experience of a peacock feather, and very playful manner. Here also you see that how a ball and a kind of this far can give you a playful experience of a squirrel if you drop it in a way. So this is how we do. So this is my end of my presentation. I'm stop sharing. Thank you very much. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, Shekhar, and that was a beautiful glance at the essence of our department indeed. Next, I would like to welcome Professor B.K. Chakravarti. Professor B.K. Chakravarti teaches innovation by design at the IDC School of Design, IIT Bombay. He has set up the Shenoy Innovation Studio at IIT-B, where students and young designers are allowed to work on live projects within an academic setup. Professor B. Chakravarti also works closely with other academics at IIT Bombay. The latter is engaged in cutting-edge research in diverse fields. For numerous contributions to teaching, innovation, and entrepreneurship at IIT Bombay, he was awarded the Institute Chair Professorship in 2015. Professor Chakrabarti's research encompasses areas such as innovation, creativity, and aesthetic perception. He is the author of a collaborative model for new product innovation, his doctoral research. Over to you, sir.
Thank you so much, thanks for Shekhar and Gayatri and Praveen that you brought me to this conference. I'm a great supporter and sort of a great learner from game design. So I'm very happy to be here. At the same time, I'm not into I'm into supporting game design activities across so many years. In fact, I remember when Praveen Nahar was a student at IIT Delhi, we had invited a lot of toy manufacturers into the design school so that we could support toy manufacturers to make safe toys, because you have toys and then if they are hurting children, it is better not to have those toys, those type of things. And of course, when children are playing, you all know they have their siblings so much smaller and younger to them, and it could be pretty disastrous. Let us quickly share my screen. So here we go. So this is my school at IDC. and talking about the evolution of game design and toy design pedagogy. So basically, we have a lot of colleagues in IDC who have been doing a lot of work in this area, and we've been supporting, working together in this endeavor. So I will share some of the things which have been happening in the school. This is my first, interaction way back in 1996, where we were building, building toys for companies which were copying toys from abroad. So our purpose was that why don't you make your own Indian toys? So we would, go out of the way to these small companies in Delhi area and sort of be with them and use the students' learning to actually build the capability of the toy companies. So for example, here you can see this small ride-on toy. This company OK Play would make ride-on toys for children, and this ride-on toy is completely developed here. And then because the biggest challenge with this company was when it wanted to sell abroad, it had only copied toys, and then we had to build our own creative journey. You can see the plaster models and the forming. So all the infrastructure was built to support these small companies, way back. And since then, we put up a research paper on why toys should be safe, and and how we should evolve our pedagogy for extremely safe physical toys. And you can see the small girl on this toy. Even this girl rolls on this toy, or if the toy falls on her, there's no chance that she could get hurt. And those testings were done. So from there, after coming to IIT Bombay, I was very fortunate to work with my professors who've been working in this area, and they work much more in depth in this area. I'm into product design and innovation, but I've been associated with Professor Atwankar in building the strength of the toy industry again in IIT in Bombay, where the All India Toy Manufacturing Association requested us to help them out in coming up with some new ideas, so that they can sell their games and toys and whatever in a much more better way. And and what is interesting is they were not really scared of any cheaper toys coming from China. But what they were really worried about was, how can we make our toys much more effective? How can we bring in more value to our toys? So, we were very glad when they said that nobody can beat our market. We know what we are selling. We know how to sell, and we know how to, bring things out. And, I think in our country, it's very interesting that, these toys and board games and all these things are specifically huge market, because they're given as gifts during birthdays. So when there are birthdays, people go and buy these gifts. And the whole challenge here is how to make the box bigger, because the perception that you want to give big gifts, and the boxes are large, though the toy is very small inside. So various things keep happening in the country. But then the perspective of the seller also is important. The people's aspirations also important. Sometimes how good the aspiration is, of course, is a point of point of concern, that you should not be cheating by giving a box and putting a small toy inside. So we would keep telling them that you should bring in more value. And I think we chose to make the games more learning object based, so that they have a learning objective there. There's an educational thing there. And we chanced upon this wonderful idea. There's this company which makes globes, and he came with us and saying, nobody's buying globes anymore. I want to increase my market. I have all the sort of all the methods with which all the all the what we call permissions, approvals to make globes, because this is a very important area where they take governmental permissions to print a map, and all that is available with this company, but it wanted to enhance its market. So we said we will work on a game with a globe. So we did this work with him, and was very, very happy to take this. And luckily, the of course the globe comes in a big box, so it is automatically he's satisfied with the thing. But he wanted an educational content over there. You can see how the game design was built behind it, or the various aspects of identifying the teams, and I put a small video for you so you can see how the children, two groups playing together to identify the cities, identify the currencies, and put them onto it with magnets. And it's wonderful experience we got, and then the company was extremely happy and took this up finally to the market. Let me play this small video for you. And and the best part was that within that 1 or 2 hours of play, the kids actually knew as the back of their palm which country was where, because they were competing with each other. That competitive spirit brought in all those things, and of course like also the currencies and the flags and multiple things what they teach geography. So we say that there's a geography play game.
Euros don't. Come on. Flag. Germany का flag है. हाँ यार. Green Germany. Come on. Germany. मिल गया. दूसरा start. हो गया. America. Golden Ridge. America first क्या है? Apple है. Germany. Currency dollars.
ऐसा मजा आ रहा है ना?
Dollars मिल गया.
ऐसा मजा आ रहा है ना 2 टीम में?
Canada United States. हो गया. अभी next क्या है? Next, कुछ है साउथ अफ्रीका का? वो बॉर्डर का सारा डिसाइड है हमारा. वो तो है. वो है ना. मैंने तो सारा डिसाइड लेना. जर्मनी करते हैं ना. जर्मनी का यूरोस. कम ऑन. जर्मनी हो चुका है. गलती से यहाँ चिपका दिया. जर्मनी ठीक ही जगह पे चिपका है. जर्मनी हो चुका है. ये क्या? हम रिजल्ट्स. इसका हमने नहीं किया. ये कितना कंट्री का? स्विट्जरलैंड.
चलो टाइम अप.
ऑब्जेक्शन.
रुको टाइम अप.
ऑब्जेक्शन है.
So in fact, just to translate some of the things, the two games, the two teams playing, there's a time allotted, and of course they're supposed to identify these locations and put on the map, and basically competing with each other, and we could really build the whole thing and give it to the company. Similarly, there were like other toy we worked with 5 toy manufacturers. The manufacturers working with shape concepts, the manufacturers working with blocks. This was built and given to them. But then after that, very interesting thing happened. I'm very glad Kaumudi also is here. Is speaking after me. We have this, this is wonderful, ministry, which the Ministry of Human Resource Development. The additional secretary was in touch with us, and she was a very, very ardent supporter of how we can use games to teach children in tribal areas. I'm sure Kaumudi would show something, but I'll just show you the prelude to that of how we built a workshop along with NID students and IDC students here in IIT Bombay, and we created these workshops with physical games and outdoor games, and some of the outdoor game videos I'm not having, but we came up with this wonderful mathematics game where you could just run around and you can get you can learn maths. I'm not able to retrieve that video, but I will show you one where they're learning alphabets. Small kids are learning alphabets, English alphabets, and that's Professor Atwankar here. He was the main course coordinator for this. I was only in a support role here of and one very important thing which we do in all our programs is constantly be with kids during the during the development as well as during the testing, which is really fabulous. In fact, we are during those days in IDC, when we come to the end of our toy design elective, we only have a toy design elective in IDC, so it is basically only an elective still. We would like NID, we would also like to have a whole program on game design. That's our dream, but this is still like very, very good to achieve. I'll just play the small video for you to see how the NID students and IDC students build this very simple game, which is then translated, sent to teachers across schools for them to play and learn. Sorry, 1 second.
The game consists of a vertical game board which can be made using an old sari, bedsheet, etc. There will be cards with uppercase and lowercase letters on either side of it. They will be placed randomly on each side so that all the uppercase letters are exactly behind their corresponding lowercase letters as illustrated. The children are divided into 2 teams. for example, Jasmine and Rose. As the game starts, the children start running around the bedsheet, maybe to music, and stop on the stop of the music. Very good. A random letter is then called out. The two teams on both sides have to recognize the correct letter. The team which recognizes the correct letter first passes their hand through the slit made under the letter and says hello to the other team. This team gets 1 point.
That's just to show you a little bit of example of how it's fun to work with children and take things forward. There are a lot of I think there are 6 or 7 games which are built. I'm not able to show you the outdoor games, which is also very nicely done, and there's a website which we will share later on. We'll be able to see. So after this whole journey, how much time do I have? 1 more minute, Anushka?
2 minutes.
2 minutes. Oh, thanks. I was looking at my watch too. So I'll close quickly. So I like to play one more trailer. So after this, we said, why should we keep on teaching basic theory? Can we do it online so that people can then game design, can come up in a good way, so people know the theory and they can implement on projects. So we worked for nearly 2 years to build this online portal for demystifying board games. So let me quickly, share that screen with you. Where I can show you the Swayam portal. I would request you to basically I would like you to actually are you able to see the screen? This is the Swayam portal. Now there are 2016. I'm just live showing you 2016 enrolled people, and this portal is actually like a base portal where teachers, it's open for teachers and students come, and actually they can look at all the content and the play and learn. The first phase is on introduction. You have all the aspects and all the theory, because Professor Athwankar has done this whole work along with my colleague Prasad, and I'm been the organizer for the online part of it. And we did all the recording of everything. I'll quickly show you a small video on this. Let me stop the share here. Are you able to see my screen?
Yes.
Yes. I'll just show you this one trailer, which is a 1 minute trailer, and then we will be there on the thing. And let me go.
No, now we can't see your screen. I guess.
I'm going to the trailer. I'll just go to share. I just opened the quick time and just to now. Yeah, there's one trailer I'd like to show you and close my presentation and show you where we fail. We should also know why we do so much things, but sometimes all of them are not successful. We need to do a lot more to go where we need to go. So let me play this trailer for you.
Welcome to the game design course. It's going to deal with games, play, and education. We will discuss how games work, what makes them work, how do you design them, and what does not constitute a game. One of the advantages of game is it shifts focus from teaching to learning. Game is a designed conflict in an artificially created world.
गेम कैसा लगा सबको? Very good. अच्छा लगा? Excellent. Double excellent.
So thank you so much, and request you to go through the Swayam portal. Just have to search for demystifying board game, and it is freely available for all the learners to see what's being done.
Thank you so much. That was really a wonderful presentation that actually took us to the heart of play. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Now we welcome Kumudi Patil. Dr. Kumudi Patil is an associate professor in the Department of Humanities, Social Science and Design program in the Indian Institute of Technology, Kanpur. She is a board member of the International Toy Research Association. She has been working with toy makers of Varanasi since 2008, having designed a museum of craft development, creative visualization software for craftsmen people, and held several training workshops. She is currently leading the national initiative of Government of India on the rural craft and artisans development and rural industrialization and entrepreneurship development program. She is on the advisory board of Center of Research and Innovation in Frugal Technology Science Center in Lucknow and the Rajya Shikshak Kendra, that is the Education Department of the Government of Madhya Pradesh. We welcome Kumudi Patil.
Thank you, Anushka. That was well an elaborate introduction to me. I'm having a power cut here in between, so I'm sorry. I'm going to switch off my video because bandwidth would be a slight problem.
No problem.
Let me share the presentation. Is the screen visible?
Yes.
Yeah, thank you so much. So let me begin. In this very brief talk today, I will touch upon a few of my pedagogical experiences in the use of toys and play in scaffolding the creative ability of design students. According to Einstein, creativity is intelligence at play. He is emphasizing that creative intelligence has a ludic element to it, and it is not limited to logic and linear thinking. But how do we learn creativity from play? That is what I would like to discuss with you today. According to Guilford, the ability to envision multiple solutions to a problem forms the core of creativity. What Guilford is speaking is also called divergent thinking. In my course, I concentrate on this particular skill. What can assist students to envision multiple solutions to a problem? According to Guilford, creativity emerges at the intersection of fluency, flexibility, and originality. Fluency is the ability to quickly find multiple solutions to a problem. Flexibility is the ability to simultaneously consider a variety of alternatives. And originality is the ability to conceive ideas that differ from other people. In order to increase the cognitive fluency and flexibility of students, as well as to aid the ability to conceive distinct and different ideas, I often play games in the class. I'm going to share 4 such play ideas on this forum today. One of the hiccups I often face in class is the resistance to budge from the first idea that a student has conceived. Often, students consider it their best idea and hesitate to think differently. I believe that in such situations, the brain is lethargic and needs to hit the gym. A little stretching, a little bending, or flexing increases cognitive flexibility. One of the exercises I give in this cognitive gym is to force the mind to think in antonyms of familiar situations. The antonym may be unviable and fantastical, but chalking out the feasibility of the proposition itself is an exercise. It is a forced exercise of the brain to think in ways not known very well, to chart paths not often traveled. The purpose ultimately is to make the brain uncomfortable. We are all familiar with the game of chess. We all more or less know the moves of the pegs and certainly know that the 2 players are fighting against each other to win. It is a competitive game. Now, let me change the aim of this game and keep the mechanics the same. Design a chess game which is not competitive. The two players of the game should not fight, but cooperate with each other to win together. Redesign chess to be a cooperative and not a competitive game. How would you do that? Of course, we are making the familiar unfamiliar here. But more importantly, the brain has to flex its muscles in order to maneuver through the rules and strategies again. In such cases, redesigning is more difficult than designing because the number of design constraints are higher in a redesign. Here is an example. This game, developed in one of my courses, is called Two Shades. It's a cooperative game in which the pegs move in the same manner as in chess. For example, the elephant can move horizontal or vertical for any number of squares. The two opponents have to swap their black or white tiles on the board to obtain a selected pattern. This is a puzzle where the answer is already known, but the process is not known to the user. The challenge here is to rethink a strategy which your brain is hard-coded into believing otherwise. It strains you to think of the antonym. Two Shades was granted a design patent recently. Now, another way of flexing your muscles is to do role play. Role play is a common and familiar method of brainstorming and design. The only twist that we give to it in the class is to role play the user you are least likely to think of. For instance, if you have to design a secure wallet, instead of role playing the user, role play the thief. We play the role play of chore police often in class, in which the best ideas have always come from the teams that played the chore and not the police. Besides the fact that it is thrilling to imagine a tabooed role, it also gives insights that the owner of the wallet or the police often are unable to. Just as in a magic show, the major method at work in pickpocketing is distraction. Human beings usually focus their attention on only one thing. So if you give them anything interesting to focus on, they won't pay attention to the money and valuables. Several solutions have been proposed by different batches. Here is just one example. Very early on in the role play, students realize how well deception works as a trick in stealing. Deception involves a team of 3 or more people of pickpocketers in a crowded area. After finding their mark, 2 of the pickpockets slow down while walking in front of their mark, appearing like a lost couple. Meanwhile, the mark is stuck behind them, and their accomplice goes through the mark's bags unnoticed. If thieves can deceive us, can we deceive thieves? If wallets are designed to look like chips packets or cigarette packs, would thieves be deceived? Here is another exercise in play. Picasso famously said, "Good artists copy and great artists steal." What he was implying is that creative strategy of copying is to learn from others, but it is also to assimilate whatever you have copied into your own repertoire. Copying is a great way of learning and preserving knowledge. In fact, in the field of traditional arts, students are asked to copy the paintings of great masters in order to learn techniques in composition sense. I use this method of learning in conjunction with Papanik's method of designing for the real world. Papanik asks designers to broaden their constituency, that is, become more inclusive of user differences in the design solution. Hence, I often give old games to be redesigned in the class for a new user. You might be familiar with the traditional Tamil game Adu Huli, which literally means goats and tigers. This is a strategy-based game where the strength of the tiger is balanced by the large number of goats and the freedom of movement given to them. Of course, the tiger hunts the goats, while the goats attempt to block the tiger's movements. Adhuli is a game of strategy. It requires players to see the moves of the opponent and place his or her pawns accordingly on the board. But what happens if one of the players of Adhuli is visually challenged? How do you redesign Adhuli to meet the play and challenge requirements of both the players, a player with sight and another without sight? Can the two play together and yet be optimally challenged? This challenge was beautifully worked out by a student who did a detailed research on how visually challenged children map routes and apply the same onto the game. The final board game had prominent navigation cues to enable easy movement markers. A symmetric board, unlike the existing board of Adhuli, enables players without sight to map moves and strategize on the board better. Tactile distinction of the board, as well as the markers, was an obvious feature. These play strategies, adopted for visually challenged children, have been adopted in the blind school of Kanpur for other games too. An academic paper on the same was presented in ITRA some time back. Now, here is something that almost all creative visualization courses would have.
Modi, you have 2 minutes left.
Analogical thinking in terms of using metaphors, figures of speech, or even design paradigms are fairly common. But I have found that the challenge in class is often to find out the correct target to compare the source. If the students find the correct target, the analogical process has more chances of providing a creative solution. Therefore, instead of simply asking the students to adopt analogy, I give them a linguistic task. If this was that, what would happen? Now let's apply this figurative connect elsewhere. Here is one from Eric Carl. If books were designed to play, what would happen? In fact, to be precise, to Carl's statement, Carl had said books to play with and toys to read. Can you imagine the revolution this can have in the learning paradigm, especially for children? Here is a book to play with and not really read in terms of text. A book like this has a technical word to it. These are called busy books or quiet books. So these four are some of the playing strategies I use in my class to scaffold creative learning. Using antonyms in play, role-playing an unlikely user, broadening your constituency, and if this was that, what would happen?
Thank you. I'm sorry I rushed through the last few slides. I think I lost track of the time. Thanks a lot.
That was altogether a new and interesting perspective. Thank you, Kamudi, for that. And next, we welcome Madhuri KV and Austin Davis. Madhuri KV, toy designer, experienced design consultant at Infosys, TGD, NID alumni. With over a decade of experience in diverse areas of design, toys, games, lifestyle products, and user experience, Madhuri loves to explore various facets of design. As a design head at the startup Flinto Learning Solutions, she was instrumental in creating a solid design foundation for Flinto Box and Flinto Class. Before that, she designed mobility products and bicycles for children with India's leading bicycle manufacturer, TI Cycles. She currently works as an experienced design consultant with Infosys to innovate their digital design experiences. She is alumnus of Toy and Game Design from the National Institute of Design.
I'd like to introduce Austin over here. Austin Davis prefers to call himself a play experience designer who is passionate about ideas of learning and problem solving through play. After completing his bachelor's in mechanical engineering, he pursued his master's in toys and game design discipline at National Institute of Design. This is where he discovered the beautiful world of play. He continued his journey by taking up projects in the domain of game design for digital platforms and physical ones. After juggling between the projects for leisure and entertainment, games as promotional tools, child development, and professional training, he realized his interest in structured play. Since then, he has been in the pursuit of discovering frameworks for design interventions through the abstract yet natural experience of play. And his journey continues as a faculty in his alma mater, where it all began. Thank you, Austin.
Thank you, Anushka. So this presentation is being given by two of us. It's me and Madhuri. So I would request Madhuri to share her screen.
Yeah, Austin, just a minute.
Yeah.
Sorry, Austin, there is some issue with the screen share. Can you please share your screen?
Yeah, so I'll start my half and then you can.
You only continue the screen share. Yeah, thank you.
Okay. Just give me a minute. Is the screen visible? Yeah, okay.
Yes, Austin.
Cool. I'll just. Cool. Okay, so yeah, sorry for the delay. So this presentation elements of play, and Madhuri has also taken other workshops in this domain. So I will start off with a brief, like sharing my experience when I've over the years teaching this course, Elements of Play. Elements of Play is like a fundamental course that our students start off their journey in toy and game design with. Being part of this course for the last 4-5 years as a faculty, and before that as a student, I have also noticed certain made some observations which have led me to also making some changes in the structure. So I'll just share those insights that I got during my experience teaching this course. So the first one is importance of play. So it might sound very odd. Why would I mention importance of play? Because it's natural, you know, when you're talking about toys and play should come into the picture. But the reason why I put it here is because since it's a platform where many are going to see this video and be part of it, during my discussions with people who make toys or toy manufacturers, or even probably students who do not belong to necessarily a toy and game design background, but maybe industrial design or visual design, whenever they are designing products like toys or games, I've noticed in their process, they never consider play as a topic to study. And they would soon jump into what is a toy and about the users, and of course, following the entire design process. So I want to bring this point ahead that it is plays an integral part of toy designing. Even if you make something which you might call a toy, if it is not playful, it won't do its job. Which brings me to the second point, which is understanding play. And naturally, when we talk about, you know, when you're trying to understand something, what you try to do is you try to find its definition. You know, you're like, what is play? And you'll start reading up about it. But what I've noticed in my journey with the students at NID and also other projects that I've done is rather than being comfortable in defining play, which again, it's a very difficult thing to do. There are amazing works done by many play scholars, some of whom were also mentioned by other speakers today. And they have looked at play from multiple perspectives, but ultimately, rather than falling into a debate of what exactly is play, I think being able to describe the experience of play helps more when you're designing, because that process of describing play leads you to identifying attributes. So for example, if rather than if you are talking about, let's say, a product like Rubik's Cube, so rather than saying that what is the type of play in Rubik's Cube, if you ask the question, why is the person playing with Rubik's Cube enjoying that experience? Is it the challenge? Is it the movement? Or is it the color? Is it the patterns that are being made? So all these end up being a list of attributes that can help you in designing for play. So now when we talk of attributes, again, it could be a very common tendency that we might, which is something that I also tried to do in the beginning, that I would make a set list of attributes which I would use in all my projects. But it is only with experience and again, also looking at projects done by students, I realized that rather than making a set list of attributes, it is more important that based on the context for which you are designing, you choose the right attributes which have the scope of play, and those attributes that would fit into the context well. Again, to give an example, let's imagine a group of people playing Uno. Now, one person in that group might enjoy or might find the experience playful because of the game's luck factor or the surprise element in it. But at the same time, for someone else, it might be the fact that people are socializing and playing. So for that person, the game Uno could be replaced by something else, and the person might still enjoy it. But the person who prefers luck-based games, for that person, that attribute is more important. So coming to the point that rather than fixing a set of attributes of play, one should learn how to assign the relevant attributes to a selected context. And I think that can help you in designing much more impactful designs in the topics that you have taken up. Now, this is a point that I recently this came up when I was discussing with the current students, the degree of playfulness. So if you see the image on the right side, so this is a board game that was developed by architecture students. I was part of that course for developing the board game, where they're trying to replicate the experience of an urban location that they had selected as their topic of study. And they were dealing with spaces. Now, as a game, it was quite long, and but people were there and engaging with the product and learning about the place and also discussing about the issues that come there. And the purpose of this board game was so that it acts as a tool to initiate such discussions so that that can lead to collaborative design solutions. Now, at some stage, the student also asked me, but why would someone come and interact with this game? Because it is not as playful as a party game. Now, here is when this thing struck me that this is also an important message that people should understand and accept, that just because a product is less playful than another, it is no less of a game or no less of a toy. So the degree of playfulness can vary. And usually when you are designing and you're using play as a medium for coming up with design interventions, it is natural that some amount, it might not be as playful as a product that is purely meant for entertainment, but it will still be playful enough. And the important thing is that the element of play makes it easier for people to engage with that product and hence learn or gain the benefit that you intended the product for. And last is whenever, of course, since we are in the domain of play, a lot of people might think that, just reading about play, and again, there is a lot of work out there, reading about the research done on play, that is not enough for to really truly understand the concept of play and its abstractness. So a point that I wanted to add here is that play is best taught and as well as learned by engaging with play, engaging with toys, engaging with games. Along with that, observing people playing, not only other people, but also probably observing your childhood experiences or your memories of playful experiences and reflecting on them and asking simple questions like, why was it playful or why was it entertaining? The answer to which might not be simple, but it will definitely get you thinking. So these were my 5 points, which it is like a summary of things around which now I have evolved the course and the structure of teaching elements of play. At the intersection of design and play experience, there are based these points along with other essential aspects, it becomes important to study them too, because design comes into the picture. So users, material, the setting, the kind of activity that you're doing, and of course, the benefit that you want to gain out of it. And now I would like to invite Madhuri to talk about her experiences of actually conducting workshops where people have experienced this. Madhuri, over to you.
Yeah, thank you, Austin. Yeah. And yeah, when, just a minute. Yeah. So I would like to bring on this points in the institutional pedagogy point of view, the design experience, the play experience, and the learning experience, how they have to complement each other in the journey of the student's life when in the institute to make the overall composition which a student needs being in academics to cater to the user experience needs at the end of the day when they are out in the industry or they are starting their own initiative, or may it be like we as designers exist because of the it's our it's our responsibility to collate everything to ensure that the user needs are met at the end of the day. Yeah. Next. In that regard, I would just like to give a sneak peek into few areas which I have touched upon being in the institute. Like this is the NID Gandhinagar Toy and Game Design Department. And while I was taking the elements of play and play experience workshops, this is one of the incidents which happened where I wanted the students to have a memorable experience of the journey which they would go through while I was on campus, and I wanted them to hold on to some strong memories, not only with the course, also after the course, and while they are on campus, every day they look at some things. Like for instance, this plant. Next, Austin. This plant was shedding a lot of leaves while I was on campus. That was that season of the year. So I asked students pick the leaves which have fallen and try to create some illustration using those leaves. So this was the day one, and this was what the students came up with. And this was open-ended and there was no restriction. Like this is how complex they could think, I guess. And when I saw these drawings, I was like, wow, they're beautiful concepts, but very well detailed out, and too much of complexity was seen. So I asked them, there is nothing right or wrong. This is good and that is good. So next, Austin. So when they were given a brief that, can you simplify the number of lines that you would be using? Then this is what one of the students could come up with. This is just snippets of some of the works. Next, Austin. And when I asked them start talking to the leaf and then can you see something else? Then they started observing the leaves are folded. So can the folded leaf look like a butterfly wing, or can I actually draw on top of the leaf? So these are the new interpretations they could come up with. Next. So here one student picked a leaf which was bitten by a caterpillar. So mirroring that. So they were it was just sensitizing them. These were like warm-up exercises. Next, Austin. So another one was I brought this dry pine cones which were just next to the window of the class. So those are some things which they see every day. So I wanted them to reflect on things which they're observing every day, but they never paid attention to it in that way. Like when the students were given an opportunity to handle dry clay with the combination of these pine cones, the possibilities were immense. In fact, I have hundreds of images of their creations. And to get into detail, I added one. Next. So they even associated with the things which they see every day on campus. And in this example, the pine cone had a small stalk. So that stalk was stuck on the top. So they even started acknowledging that and also using that in the creation of character. And the same stalk is used to make the mouth and also the eye of the character. So no tools used. So yeah. Next. And in terms of learning experience, if you see, next, I just added some small journey of the students, how they went about this particular course. So the entire class was asked to split into groups. So in the past, during my times, we used to write chits, and then there used to be some fun activity. Like every element, every step they take in the course has to have that element of play and something to some curiosity should be built. As faculty, it's very responsible for each faculty to give that feel in the overall journey which the student undergoes through during the course time. So they were using this application called Swansea. I hope I pronounced it right. So it was fun, and yeah, it was a learning for me there. Yeah, and next, and also of course, brainstorming is a by default process. And while brainstorming, the environment that's created, like you see this crocodile here eating a bird, which is a post-it converted. So the environment adds so much of elements, and the students have to bring out that playfulness in them and looking at everything, questioning every little reason and reasoning every little thing around. So yeah, next, this is just something which I could pick and connect. And in that, after the brainstorming, they took age group 12-year-old. So here the students map the journey of this is one example where students map the journey of the 12-year-old, what happens in the area, in the life of the 12-year-old in a day's time, and where all they see possibilities of play, even to the extent that the bus to home, bus boarding was one of the element to just recall, was taken by one of the students. And next. And the topic they took for going around this age groups, this shortlisted, this team has taken space, and in context to space and bus, what next? They started brainstorming on what are the ideas which they could come up with, and how can the materials, what kind of materials they can connect with to make rough models, because while they're designing toys for children, they have to make 100 models, and they should be open to that 100th model being broken and shattered by a child. So that how non-biased the student of a toy design have to be, and that was ensured. And as part of this, even the students were shown on how to quickly model, ideate, because a sketch means nothing for a child. A toy or a play object means a lot. Like always talk to children with tangible things in hand. So next. So for the bus context and the space context, one of the students came up with this idea of a solar system where the maze is a flexible maze. So every day before the child goes to school, they will set a maze of their own, and they will create levels, they will increase the complexity of the maze as they progress on this game. So this is one of the ideas which was quickly implemented over the course. And the student this team tried a launching game, and which was card based and rocket launch. So yeah, this next. And this team, they made a shooter game for younger age group, where tasks were given where they can hit and then the cards fall, and whoever gets more cards on their hands is a winner. And also there were some other elements addressed, like how concentration and focus or aim, and the multiple things which the child would learn. So even those things were addressed as part of this thing, where it's just opening a window, because they're at a post-graduation level. So open a window and leave them to explore further. Next. And this student made a glass design, which would hold milk. This is actually watercolor made to look like Britain milk here. So this is a rocket glass according to him, and the windows. So the child has to drink the milk to see the aliens pop out of the milk. So there's a fun element which can be introduced in the product. So next. And also I ensured that during the course, the students got to interact with their peers who are in the industry doing their internships, take their feedback, and also who are on campus who would know what they can expect in the future courses. So there was a non-biased set of gatherings which were planned, so where they can learn and share and build things around. So that's how it was taken to the that's how the feedback mechanism was designed, where they would self-evaluate themselves at the level where that understanding was synced in, where they know where they were going fine or where they need some more improvement, or maybe in some instances even scrap the idea and start all fresh. Yeah, next. So in context to play experience, there was one exercise conducted, like how one element can have multiple interpretations. Like in this course, next, yeah, thanks, Austin. So this marbles, they look so simple, but they're so powerful. So I gave scenarios to the students where I gave one marble for a set of 2 students and asked them to play, 2 marbles and then asked them to play, 3, as increase the number of marbles. So there were so many things, like as the number of marbles increased, the kind of play experiences they were able to create were too different. Like I can quote one example of one of the students. When the marbles were given, he comes from a rural background. So he was treating them as cattle. Like, he had 2 bamboo sticks. So he would maneuver them like, I will maneuver the cattle and then take one after the other. And then he built a game on it. So there's so many things and as a faculty, it's very important that these things are nurtured in the student, and those were ensured in this journey. And unfortunately, I'm not having many images of this course. I would have loved to share them. Another thing was when many marbles were given, there were different experiences. Like I can recall another experience of play where students were passing marbles from one to another, like by pushing the marbles with one hand on the floor. They sit on the floor, and then task was the other person should not let the marbles spill out of the cupped hands of the other one. So it was so much fun, and I could observe them play silently for hours, and that also led to the further questioning, like where all those things can be applied. So here what we see is a physical marble. The same thing can be transcended to digital medium. It can become installations to a mobile application, like a fun game on a mobile platform or any screen platform, to many more dimensions. So those were the sparks which were seen, and some students actually took them to next level in exploring it further. But unfortunately, I don't have that information at the moment. Yeah, next. From the user experience point of view and the industry perspective, I recalled one of my old works which I have done for TI Cycles, where when I joined TI Cycles, which is actually the manufacturer of BAC and Hercules bicycles, they were in the transition of they were in the transition phase of questioning the bicycle to a cycling experience. They wanted to transcend from giving good cycling experience to the audience, the users, than just calling themselves as a bicycle company. And at that time, I was working as a design manager and handling the category of children bicycles. So where I got this opportunity to experiment as well. So this image, what you see, is one of the research, one of the research experiments we did being there. And I had a team of designers, and we all went together to schools. So initially, it all started with a need. We needed to go and meet children in numbers. Like we wanted to meet a lot of children and get their feedback for bicycle and their understanding. So when we went there, it was very difficult to first get permission from the schools. And second, it was not easy to get information from the children by any other approach of asking and all. So to solve these two things, there were two things. One is getting permission from the school, and second is getting a bulk feedback from children at numbers, because it's the TS cycles caters to all India. So what happened in this particular scenario was a situation was created as a win-win, where we approached schools saying that we would conduct storytelling workshops in your school, and we would give props to the children, and children have to bring their favorite toy or a doll or a play object to the school. So in tandem, the possibilities were immense, and the task given to the children was, children have to explain or narrate a story. Children will form groups and narrate a story for their own batchmates, and they had to engage their own classmates. So that was the task. The auditorium was booked, and this was the scenario created, and the children were given a stage, and we as designers were sitting backstage and observing the entire thing. And the possibilities which the children came up with were amazing. And of course, they are non-biased and imaginative beings. So, and as designer, my responsibility was to bring in the imagination to reality and meet the industry need with all the checkpoints met. So I'll just state one example which resonated, which can help understand the core concept here. So one of the, in a couple of incidents, the children had this thing of fear connected to bicycles. They would say, like, I would never leave my bicycle outside because somebody would take it. Or like, they had that sense of fear that some thief will come and take it. Like in a story, there was a ball which was used as a bullet, and there was a tiger which was used as a cop, and there were other two dolls which were treated as thieves. So the thieves will take the bicycle, and the tiger police would come and throw the bomb at them, and then rescue the bicycle. So with that insight, when I look back, I'm talking about 8 years back, before this between the decathlon episode started here. So 8 years back, none of the children bicycle went with a kid's bicycle lock. And TS Cycle is the first company to give a lock as a free gift with every bicycle they would release. And the sales shot up approximately, if my numbers are correct, around 40% of sales has increased. So this is how powerful a small design insight would be, and how dynamically a designer can change the dimensions of the overall, the system. And we as a faculty should ensure that these insights are given to the students in a way where, they can come up with many more possibilities, because design is such that it has no definition, no one defined definition, and it is always evolving. And so are the processes, and so are the needs, so are the dimensions, so are the platforms. So I would just like to leave with this thought. Next, Austin. I think this is the last slide.
This is the last one.
Thank you all.
Thank you, Madhuri. I'll stop sharing.
Yeah, please. Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone. And thanks, Madhvi and Anushka, for introducing.
Thank you, Madhuri and Austin. That was a beautiful wrap up for today's journey with toy design pedagogy. So we come to the end of today's event. It was truly an inspiring session with play, toys, and games as we looked into toy design pedagogy. On behalf of the team, I would like to thank all the speakers for their enriching presentations and discussions. Also, a big thanks to all participants who attended this session with us today. We have our 6th and final session on 7th October. Do join us as we explore the toy design perspective. Thank you all.
Shekhar, you can stop the live.